I want answers. The message from hundreds of KXAN viewers this week and counting. All TxTag customers, all fed up with customer service.
The hoops you have to jump through to get someone to work with you.
Complaints resurface with the state's tollway billing system.
Those fees start to apply, and they can add up very quickly.
After the Texas Department of Transportation first promised to fix it 2 years ago.
If you're going to build a toll road, it better work the way people expect it to.
Welcome to a special edition of State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle, joining you from Interstate 35, right through the heart of downtown Austin, one of the most congested stretches of highway in the nation, just blocks away from your lawmakers at the state capitol. Like you, many of them travel the toll roads to avoid this traffic nightmare. And here in Central Texas, we have plenty of options. A maze of tollways, some causing a lot of frustration. From 2015 to today, many of you tell us the TxTag payment process on roads like that has actually become worse and has you facing major fees. Nearly 30% of TxTag accounts have had a bill sent to collections this year alone. We've discovered new vendors and an aggressive collections agency, part of this web of frustrations for millions of TxTag customers. TxDOT, TxTag, ChaseSource, former contractor Xerox, Conduit, a Houston law firm. No wonder so many of you have reached out to us, because you can't get a straight answer about your accounts. Like having bills sent to the wrong address and facing fees for not paying, or getting charged for a vehicle you don't own. Or like this next woman our Brittany Glass met, who says she was sent to collections while waiting for customer service to help.
For years, Mila Louvier says she enjoyed the convenience of the TxTag system. She could drive through tolls with no hassle. And TxTag simply drew money automatically from her bank. Then this spring, she started noticing some unexpected charges. So she reached out to TxTag customer service.
Calls to them haven't been helpful.
Louvier says she phoned repeatedly, waiting more than a month just to get a call back from someone who could resolve her problem.
Those calls just didn't come until it was way too late, until they had sent 95% of our account to collections.
In just a short 2-month span, her initial $400 bill had shot up by more than $5,700 in administration fees. And soon, a collections company was demanding she pay up.
I do feel like this is a goal of their customer service, to send people into collections and get as much money off of these fees as they can.
Thank you for calling TxTag customer service.
Louvier is not alone. This year, more than 2.2 million TxTag accounts have been sent to collections, racking up nearly $1 billion in fees for drivers. Linda Sexton heads up toll operations at TxDOT and says those fees can add up fast.
Isn't it a problem if nearly 30% of all TxTag accounts are in collections?
Well, it's not necessarily indicative of a problem. It's very clearly drawn out how a transaction escalates through the process and the applicable fees that will be applied if those notices go unanswered.
It's heartbreaking to listen to those kind of calls every day. And it's all day long.
This former TxTag customer service representative asked us to conceal her identity if she agreed to share what happened when she took her concerns about calls to management.
They do not care if you have a problem with it. That's your job. You do what they say or you can leave. They don't care.
And so you left?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd rather leave than work for a company like that. I'm not going to work for them.
And when she left, she took her employee manual. It says workers must keep their call times to just 5.5 minutes, including hold time.
What happens if the issue is too complex to be able to be resolved in under 5.5 minutes?
There's going to be those instances, and we will certainly take the time that is necessary to ensure that we answer all of the questions and that we answer it to the customer satisfaction.
Still, customer service reps are given a quota, at least 80 calls per day, to collect as many payments as possible, but to never inform customers if their accounts are in collections, which might mean they owe a lot more.
They're paying and they're thinking that they're paying their bill, which to me is even more deceitful.
Why are people sitting on hold?
When the contractor hired to collect those bills didn't meet customer service expectations in 2015, it was penalized $177,000 by the state. The message? Shorter wait times and fewer frustrations.
Thank you for calling the TxTag Customer Service Center. Your request could not be processed.
The outcome? New problems and uncertainty TxDOT will ever fix the system.
It's going to take another agency to go through and fix it. They're never going to do it on their own. It needs to be changed now.
That customer service rep is not alone. We spoke with a handful of others who all had similar stories. All of them say that something has got to change.
And we've learned that change could come with the Attorney General's office.
That's absolutely right. Over the years, it's received plenty of complaints about the TxTag system, but if it receives enough, its consumer division could possibly investigate.
And that is exactly what one state lawmaker tells us he hopes will happen.
Coming up, we share your concerns with Representative Tony Dale of Cedar Park, who has 2 toll roads in his district. And now he's calling for a complete overhaul of the TxTag system.
The state should be in the business of making it easy on drivers to drive, not making it harder.
If you've reached out to TxTag customer service for answers about your bill but had no luck, we want to know. Check out the homepage of KXAN.com. Click on I Want Answers. Tell us about your experience with customer service and upload your bill. TxDOT tells us it will review and help get to the bottom of the bills we send them. We'll be right back.
We're not allowed to tell them that they have account in collections, so if they don't know about it, they're not going to pay it.
Keeping certain account information from TxTag customers and mandated call times. Earlier, you met this former TxTag customer service employee who says she quit her job because it was unethical and not helping customers resolve their bills.
After learning 2.2 million customer accounts have been sent to collections this year alone, one lawmaker tells our Brittany Glass enough is enough, and that the system should have been fixed 2 years ago when problems first surfaced.
There are still technology problems, and it seems baffling to people that you can't get it right.
There are 2 major toll roads running through the heart of Representative Tony Dale's Central Texas district. He says they've been a problem, and they still are.
We've got a large number of constituents that drive on the roads on a daily basis, and we hear complaints weekly without question.
Including complaints about TxTag customer service.
You would hope that someone makes a call for a complaint, it's handled in a timely manner, and no matter who gets the call, they should be able to address it.
Until the problems are fixed, Representative Dale vows he won't drive on toll roads in Texas and proposes a complete system overhaul.
I think Texas needs a wholly different way to look at this. Myself and other members of the legislature are going to be asking the Speaker to have the Transportation Committee look at this specific problem.
And it looks like the Speaker of the House is already taking notice. We learned in just the few days since we first started telling viewers about our investigation this week, Speaker Joe Straus added toll transparency and stakeholder responsiveness to a list of issues he wants lawmakers to study before the next session. He wants recommendations on how to improve oversight of the system. Representative Dale says one idea he'll pitch is bring all of these toll operations under one single entity.
Yeah, and we've learned that as many as 6 entities have been involved in the TxTag process this year alone.
He says that change could mean not only a smoother process for customers, but also more transparency.
All right, thank you, Brittany. TxTag officials tell us that their system is already a good one, that their workers go through extensive training for 2 weeks to make the process as smooth as possible.
They go through an additional week of shadowing customer service representatives who are taking live calls. So they go through almost a month-long training session before they're allowed to even speak directly to customers.
TxTag says it's also made changes in its customer service and call centers since problems first surfaced a few years ago. There are also extended call hours. But we've learned one of the reasons it's risen to this level of frustration is because it appears Texas has no current law saying how much a collections agency can charge overall for a TxTag bill. Lawmakers did cap certain fees, though, in this last legislative session. Under Senate Bill 312, the new monthly TxTag fee is set at $4 per invoice for tolls 30 days past due, with an annual cap of $48. Representative Ina Menares, who helped push this consumer protection amendment, says it holds toll authorities responsible.
At what point do you stop taking advantage of people just because you're looking at money and wanting to bring in that revenue? It's just wrong. We need to make sure that we treat the public fairly. Despite the new law, the latest meeting of the Texas Transportation Commission, which sets toll fees statewide, showed not everyone agrees with the new caps.
Driving on a toll road is a choice, and for those who choose to get on there should have to pay, and we should be entitled to recovering our cost and the fees that are associated.
Still, commissioners approved the motion, and the caps take effect early next year. It's important to remember, though, that these caps appear to only apply to late fees and accounts that have not yet gone to collections. It's unclear whether it applies to every toll road in the state or just TxDOT operated toll roads. The Attorney General has been asked to weigh in with an opinion, but that has not come down just yet. Coming up, our political roundtable debates the challenges of a toll system in a state this big and what other options lawmakers have to tackle toll problems in the upcoming legislative session. Next on this special edition of State of Texas. You want answers about your toll bills. And now our political roundtable is here to weigh in on the past and future challenges for the TxTag system across the state. Joining us now, we have Ben Ware from the Austin American-Statesman, who covers transportation issues. We have Iman Bathija from the Texas Tribune, who is also well-versed in this topic, and our very own KXAN investigator, Brittany Glass. This past session, lawmakers have called for a cap on administrative fees at $48 and also on criminal fines at $250. I know there's some confusion about which toll roads this really applies to.
Several lawmakers have told me, well, we don't really know if it's TxDOT roads or other roads. That's a huge problem. How do we not know what an amendment means before it's set to go into place? So we're still actually waiting for the Attorney General to make a ruling on that.
It appeared that it applied to roads that are built and operated by TxDOT. And if that turns out to be the case, it would not apply to Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority roads, which would include 183, MOPAC, 290, and they're building more.
What would that mean for the people here in Austin?
If you run up bills on those Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority roads, you could still have a very large set of administrative fines.
The Attorney General has a consumer protection division that does look into things like this, but it typically doesn't get involved unless they have so many complaints that they can really, determine this is a massive issue. And so far, it hasn't gotten involved in this.
I think it's difficult when we have an organization that's supposed to look out for consumers that hasn't yet taken action, especially when we're dealing with lawmakers who are confused. I think that it's really going to take the AG's office to step up here, to listen to these customers and drivers' concerns and see if there is a deeper underlying issue that needs to be taken over this next legislative session.
Back in 2015, people were getting wrongfully billed, and I know that TxDOT had to actually refund about $2 million to several drivers. Do you think with the problems that a lot of people are bringing to us right now, where they're concerned about high collection fees, that this might be a conversation that TxDOT will have to have again?
These tolling billing issues have really kind of put a face to the opposition and to the frustration people have with all these roads. And so I think you're going to see lawmakers talking more and more just about, at the very least, stopping any more toll projects from moving forward.
One of the state lawmakers we've spoken to, Representative Tony Dale from here in Central Texas, has been critical that there's so many entities that are involved with the TxTag system. Everything from the state to the customer service center to the collections agency to the staffing agency. He wants to actually move everything under one entity.
The state for the past 20 years has been increasingly outsourcing some of its jobs to private companies like tolling, like billing collection, and they've done that to save money. And Both, that's been a very popular thing to do over the last 20 years because it does reduce taxpayer costs. And the reason Texas has moved so much towards toll roads over the last 15 years is there isn't an interest in raising gas tax or other sources of revenue that would really give the state what it needs to handle maintaining a road system in a state that's growing as fast as Texas. So they've moved to tolls because that's the fastest and easiest way to build roads.
And they've already got problems because a lot of TxDOT's cash that comes in now through a couple of constitutional amendments and some other changes is ineligible to be used on toll roads. So it's already becoming a problem for agencies like the Mobility Authority or TxDOT itself to fund toll roads because they usually want to put some cash in as well as borrowing money, and there's just less cash for that now.
Any efforts to kind of make it harder for tolling agencies or companies to collect those tolls is going to make it harder to build more roads in the future, and so that's going to be the challenge for lawmakers.
Customer service has been handled by 3 different companies just in a matter of a couple of years. You had 3M and then Xerox for a few years and now Conduent. Is that part of the problem?
Anytime you have switches between these different companies, you're going to see that kind of transition period where there's going to be problems, but every time a contract is up, Texas is going to go out and ask for the lowest bid. So it's really hard for a company to hold on to these contracts for long term.
In the contracts, many of the companies and TxDOT have, a system of, sanctions that will happen if they mess up or they don't meet certain benchmarks, like we saw with Xerox back with its customer service problems in 2015. Xerox was only fined $177,000.
There have been lawmakers who have pushed for more aggressive penalties in these type of contracts.
We'll see what happens in the next year before the next legislative session starts up.
We want to see some change, and this needs to be a fair process for everyone.
One man's personal loss made worse dealing with a difficult customer service experience. Why he had to take his fight all the way to the Capitol. Next on State of Texas.
These are certainly made clear up front to customers, and it's very clearly drawn out how a transaction escalates through the process.
There's no way that we owe $6,000. We did not drive that many times on the toll.
TxTag customers fed up with customer service. All week you've been sending us your toll bills after having no luck getting answers about why they're so high so suddenly.
One man found it so frustrating, he tells our Brittany Glass it took a state lawmaker stepping in to get his account cleared up.
Got married in Jamaica.
Flipping through photos, Matt Kovac says he's able to capture the beauty of the woman he loved so much, the wife who died unexpectedly after routine surgery in January.
When I see us on the beach like that, it's just feels like, we hit the top, where it's smooth sailing from there.
Kovac says dealing with Jesse's death and planning her funeral were overwhelming enough.
That's when, the toll bills and everything just kind of froze.
But what came in the mail 4 months later made matters worse. A collections letter demanding he pay nearly $30,000 for his late wife's TxTag pay-by-mail account.
How is that even fair when you say, here's how much you have in tolls, and then there's admin fees for $27,500?
Thank you for calling TxTag customer service.
Kovac contacted TxTag customer service, who said they couldn't help. Then he tried the collections agency.
We'll reduce the bill by 70%, and you only owe $9,100. And at that point, I was like, so you're telling me I still have to pay a bunch of imaginary fees when I'm willing to pay my exact toll amount that I owe for those tolls that were done?
Not satisfied, Kovac refused to pay the fees because he says he didn't even know his wife's account had gone to collections. He was never notified.
When it came to the bills and everything, you trust your wife. I had assumed she was handling the bills.
Fed up, he went to his state rep, who was the only one he says would help him resolve the problem.
The hoops you have to jump through to get someone to work with you. I wasn't about to roll over and say, oh yeah, I'm scared. I'm going to just sit here and pay, amounts that are still just absurd.
Kovac says a review of the collections process and what the agency can charge is necessary at the Capitol.
Why don't you turn around and look at your billing process and how your billing process is affecting thousands and thousands of people in Central Texas that are very upset with how this is running.
That man is definitely not alone. 2.2 million accounts have been sent to collections, drivers who have racked up nearly $1 billion in fees since just the beginning of this year.
And a lot of those drivers tell us it was a sudden, unexpected jump.
Yes, and TxTag tells us that's because it turned off fees for an entire year after those initial problems we told you about at the top of the show.
And that was just to get things in order and have a fresh start. And many of you tell us that's not what ended up happening, though. If you've reached out to TxTag customer service for answers about your bill but had no luck, we want to know. Check out the homepage of KXAN.com. Click on I Want Answers. TxDOT tells us it will review and help to get to the bottom of the bills we send them. And of course, we'll keep you updated with how this all plays out at the state capitol in the months ahead. From all of us at KXAN's political and investigative teams, thank you for watching this special edition of State of Texas. Have a great day.